Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. We are going to get started with a new Torah portion, Parashat Tzaw. In this Torah portion, we will talk about a few things. The first one is, what does the Creator Yahweh Sevaot requires when it comes to offerings? Also, we will talk about another topic that has a lot to do with this topic, with the first of Abib, the first of the month of the year. We will talk about how important it is to have the vestments, to have the proper attire in when it comes to the Creator. So let's jump start, and right before that, I'm gonna ask you, if you have not subscribed, please do so you can get the latest production. We are working tireless to bring you Torah portions, Torah classes, video productions, and also lately we are producing a lot of music, which, by the way, there is music that is coming very, very soon. So let's jump into this Torah portion. And once again, if you want to take notes, please do so. This Torah portion, Tzaw, means command. That's number 25 on the Torah cycle. Leviticus or YHWH 6:8 all the way to 8:36. Yahweh gave the command to Moshe and said, Tzaw, to Aharon and his sons, to give the order to, this is the Torah for the burning offering. In Hebrew is olah. It is what it goes up into the wood for fire in the altar all night until the morning. In this way, the fire will remain burning. This is what the Creator requires, and this is one of the more important things what we need to always take into account. When it comes to the Creator commanding something to every single one of us, it is very vital for us to understand that who's speaking with. The Creator is speaking to someone. In this case, every time you open the scriptures, the Creator is speaking to you, not to anybody but you and you alone. Let's jump into when it comes to sacrifices. Jeremiah 7:22. Because I did not speak to you their fathers, nor did I give them the Tzaws, you see that? Or the Tzaw, the commands concerning their burnt offerings or sacrifices when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. This is very vital, important verse in the scriptures. Here is revealed that in the very beginning, even before Egypt, Yahweh gave the command to our forefathers when it comes to Abraham, when it comes to Tzaw, when it comes to Jacob, to obey his word. And this was passed on all the way to Moshe. But what happened in all this turmoil, the sin of the golden calf. The sin of the golden calf came about the book of Leviticus, the Torah of the book of Leviticus, the book of sacrifices. And no wonder why we talked about that last week, about the book of YHWH. The book of YHWH is what Shaul, Paul, states when it comes to the law. We no longer go by the law. Which law? The Torah of Leviticus sacrifices. Why? Because it was just for a period of time that was an instructor, a tutor, to teach something that it was coming in very near future. What they were teaching, the Levites were teaching Torah, the instruction of Yahweh. They were teaching how to burn sacrifices, how to redeem themselves, how the judges to judge or pass a judgment to someone who have done this, or an equilibrium judgment. All this has a lot to do with the tutoring, the instructor doing this for a period of time until the time of Mashiach in the first century. Then Mashiach came. Then Mashiach is taking over this and leveling up this into a different level. which is the order of Melchizedek. We no longer go by the order of the Levites. Why? Because it was just a period of time, which is a tutoring. Mashiach has three attributes, and we talked about that last week, which is the king, Melech, which is Kohen, which is the priest, and the third is a prophet, Nabi. Three attributes which Lewi doesn't have. He only has one, which is the Kohen, which is a priest, a minister. So if you compare apples and pears, we can see that there's a huge difference here. And Mashiach brings the higher realm. Let's continue. And let's talk about the Cain. In the course of time, chapter 4, verse 3 of Genesis, he brought a mincha, which is a food offering from the fruit of the earth of Yahweh. What was wrong with his offering? Something wrong, and we will find out very next. Chapter 4, verse 3, in the mincha from the fruit of the lamb is compared to the mincha, the same offering but different source. This was the fruit of the land, but Habel brought the fruit of the sheep, the firstborn of the sheep, which is the best of the best. What was the difference here? Both were considered mincha, and I will show you in a minute. Both were considered a mincha offering. It's just the only difference is it was one source of the land and the other one was from the herd of the sheep. But both supposed to be the first of the first, the firstborn, the first of the land. What's wrong with the Cain? He brought probably the mediocre. He probably brought the last of the harvest. He did not bring the best of the best. And that was wrong. That's why the Creator did not accept it. Because think about it. Do you think the Creator is going to be pleased if you just bring him the leftover of what we do? No. When it comes to the tithe, when it comes to the 10th of our earnings, we're supposed to bring the first. As soon as we get paid, that will be set aside the 10th, which is the tithe. And that's what the Creator requires. In anything, don't have to be the tithe, the tithe, the 10th of our earnings, but anything in our life is supposed to be the first to Yahweh. And here the problem is that he didn't put much effort into it. Look at what it says in Targum Yonatan on 4 verse 3 of this verse. And it was at the end of the days, on the 14th of Aviv, that Cain brought from the fruits of the land, the seed of the cotton or line, an offering before Yahweh. What he brought, it says very clear, there was the seed of the cotton. But here we can see that he brought something, but it was not the first of the first of the fruits. Now, Leviticus 2:14, look at what it says, according to any fruits of the land. If you bring a grain offering to the first of the fruits, first of the Yahweh, you should bring it as a grain offering to the reshi, the first fruits, the grain from the fresh ears of the corn, dried or baked with fire. You see that? This is what the Creator required, but the difference here with Cain is that he did not bring the first fruits. That was a problem. Jude, in the New Testament, Berit Chadashat 1:11, woe to them for those who have followed the ways of Cain. What are the ways of Cain or Cain? There are those who put the Creator last in their own ambition, their own gaining, their own things of the world, the secular world first. Yahweh is always the last. That's the ways of Cain. We need to be very, very careful. We need to be very careful in what we supposed to be serving. Are we serving the Creator or are we serving the money? Are we serving the Creator or are we serving the world? Are we serving the Creator or are we serving our bosses? We need to be very careful on who we serve into. Ecclesiastes 5:11, watch your steps when you go to the house of Ayil Almighty. The offerings of Shema is not just to listen, but also is to obey. is better than the fools offering sacrifices, because they do not discern whether they are doing good or evil. And it's so true. We supposed to obey rather than give an offering. We suppose, and the question should be today: what are the offerings today? Let me give you an example. What there are the offerings today? The offerings could be the prayer. They could be a psalm, anything from the scriptures. That's the type of offerings the Creator is looking for. But what is the point of you doing the offering of the tefillah or filah with the prayer, or the sing a psalm, if you're not obeying Yahweh's commandments? What is the point? There is no point. Might as well don't do it, because that is someone who is a hypocrite. You claiming to be something, but you're doing the opposite with your actions, and that's exactly what Ecclesiastes says very clear here. Because whether or not the Creator it will not listen to our prayers, will not be pleased with our singings, what is the point if we're not doing His will? Genesis 4 verse 4, Abel also brought from the first fruits of the sheep. You see that, including the fat. Yahweh accepted Abel or Abel on his offering. Why? Because he brought the first of the fruits. That was the first that he came into his mind, and that's what he did. Let's look into Job. Job 1:5. After a cycle of banquets, Job sent for them to come, and will sanctify them, will separate them. And he will rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings for each of them. For Job said, my children may have sinned, accursed to Yahweh in their thoughts. And this is what Job did every time. Let's pause here for a moment, and let's think it for a moment. The Creator wants us to follow a certain pattern, a certain thing for the Creator. But what is the point if we're not doing His will? The reason why Job does this is because he knew that their sons and daughters are not following Yahweh's commandments. He was doing the offering for them because they're supposed to be doing it. He was doing it for them to please Yahweh because of their iniquities. You see that? There is something that to be an account, that we always remember those who are for families and loved ones, that always we pray for them. We do an offering for them. May Yahweh be pleased and be forgiven to them, so they can come to the light, so they can come to the Torah. Now, let's jump into a different gear. Let's talk about the vestment, the clothing, the attire that we supposed to have. And let me give you an example in the Torah. In the Torah, there are two types of attire: the inner attire and the outer attire. The first one is the literal attire, which is the beget, the clothing. In this case, the Kohen HaGadol, the high official, he wear these vestments, this clothing that were to show pristine and honoring to Yahweh. The second is the lebush, and this word is a verb that means to clothe. But this word, which is a verb, is not just a verb. This verb is also a clothing, but that clothing happens to be a spiritual ruach that is invested from the Yahweh Sevaot to the person in the inside of their soul. These vestments of the ruach are what Yahweh requires from you and I today. It's not just in those times, also is today. Let me give you these couple examples that these vestments, that this clothing that Yahweh is requiring from you and I today, are the one we're supposed to have 24/7. Not when we need them, but every day. Let me give you an example in the Torah. Numbers 20 verse 28. But Midbar, Moshe stripped naked the tunics of Aaron, and he dressed his son Eleazar. Now let's break it down, this very verse. In the Hebrew, we see that the word for tunic is the word beget. This tunic happens to be the literal outer vestment that Aaron supposed to have, but he was just about to die. So Moshe stripped them from two kinds of vestments or two kinds of clothing. The outer, which is the beget. Okay, you see it here, the beget, the tunic. And the second, which is the lebush. Lebush is not, once again, it's not a verb, but also a spiritual clothing. And what he do, he stripped completely from the outer and the inner vestments. And who did he give it to? He gave it to his son Eleazar. Eleazar is the one who empowered by Moshe by these two types of clothing. The outer, the beget, and the second, which is the inner, the lebush. Let me give you, but before that, you might think, wow, he's really making it up. I'm not. And I'll give you a very solid examples in the scriptures about this. Shemot, or Exodus 28 verse 2, you should make a set apart garments for your brother Aaron, and these are the literal vestments. The beget, set apart, the beget kodesh, that expresses dignity and splendor. This was going to be the set apart clothing that people were able to see physically with their eyes. And they were going to express dignity and splendor. People, when they will see this in Aaron, in Aaron, they will go, wow, he really looked amazing. He looked like a king. Because that's what he's supposed to have. These beautiful adornments in that vestment was going to show that to every single one of them who was going to see this. Now let's look into the inner. The word lebesh is a verb that means to dress, to wrap, to put a garment. And let's look into the examples of that. Job 10 verse 11. Did you not clothe me, labesh, with skin and flesh, and weave me together with bones and tendons? Didn't you put that in me? You see that? This is not something that we can take it lightly. This is something that our forefathers were invested by Yahweh. Let me give you another example. Judges 6:34. In the spirit of Yahweh, the Ruach of Yahweh, labeshat, which is translated for clothe himself with Gideon. And when he sounded the horn, Eleazar gathered with him. You see that? Yahweh clothed Gideon with the Ruach HaKodesh, with that spirit, with that clothing that we today supposed to have. So the question should be today, shall we be best invested or clothed by the clothing of Yahweh in inside, inner, that we're supposed to have every single day from the moment that you learn Torah? And the answer is absolutely. But also supposed to have the outer as well. But the inner has more value than the outer. Don't get me wrong, having the peyot, having the kippah, having the talit, having the talikatan, having all these things are very, very crucial, because that expresses to the outer person, the person who's looking at you, that you belong to a certain way of life. But at the same time, we're supposed to wear the inner clothing of Yahweh, which is, I'll tell you this, very, very important. Now, in this Torah portion, chapter 8, verse 11, Yahweh said to Moshe, book of Leviticus, take Aaron his sons with him, and beget, which is, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bull, the sin offering, the 2 rams, and the basket of matzah. All this needed to be prepared, trained, rehearsed, because of this 7 days that was coming. On the 8th day, which is the following Torah portion, Sheminit, on the 8th day, the set apart tent, which is the Mishkan, was going to be erected. And that's what we're going to talk about next Shabbat. But here, Aharon needed to have these vestments, these outer garments, cloth outside, so people will see it, and they will see it that this is not something to be taken light. Now, the word beget means a garment, dress, covering, clothing. And this is exactly what we see over and over again. These are the garments, not just any garments. These garments are garments that usually the king will have. And we can see pretty much in the case of Mordechai and Esther. When they dress Mordechai, the word is beget. They dressed him with these garments that the king is supposed to have. They give it to him. Now let's close with this verse. Hosea chapter 6, verse 7, verse 1. When I wanted to heal Israel, the iniquity of Ephraim was revealed or be naked, and the wickedness of Samaria for their practice of deceit. The thief enters, the bandit strips outside. Why am I bringing this very verse? And the reason why I'm bringing this is to reveal something that is within all of us. We are coming from the nations. We are coming from a history of deceit, of thief, of plundering, of taking away from our neighbor. But Yahweh knows that we are naked. Remember when the book of Revelation chapter 4, I believe, when it comes to the Kehillah, the community of Laodicea, where Mashiach speaks to this Kehillah, to this community, and he said, you think you're rich, you think you can see, you think you can do all these things, but you're nothing but a miserable person. You are naked, you are blind. You see that? And I ask you to buy clothing from me, to buy gold from me, to buy ointment, so you can see, so you can be in clothing with the real clothing. And so that tells us, to each one of us, that yes, we need that clothing from Yahweh. We need that clothing every single day. Don't get me wrong, the outer is very important, but what has more, even more so, is the inner. And that's what the Creator requires most of everything. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. We'll see you next time. Shabbat Shalom. And please subscribe if you have not done so. We'll see you next time.
Toda Rabba. If you like this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. There's more content in production. Thank you.